Khorne here, and today I will be sharing with you a few more tips, tricks and exploits you can use in Warhammer 3. But before we begin, I just wanted to thank Mr. Juraj for being the very first member of my channel. I really do appreciate the support. Now on to the video. The first one is for Throt the Unclean, as there is a neat little trick you can do with the Flesh Laboratory that can be a bit RNG based. When you start your campaign, you will have a wolf rat unit that has an instability on it. What this does is, aside from making your unit take constant damage on the battlefield, cheapen the cost of mutagens required to upgrade a unit, which can enable you to unlock higher tier upgrades much sooner. What you can do at the beginning of your campaign is start upgrading your unstable unit to unlock more upgrades, and potentially be able to get cellular instability for your mutant rat ogre at the very start, making your campaign just a bit easier. Unfortunately, if you get 3 instabilities, the mutagen cost actually goes up. So if this happens before you reach cellular instability, you can just restart the campaign and try again. The next tip I have for you is the fact that you can use space button on the campaign map to see how far your territory extends, as sometimes I have difficulties making out the borders between regions. If you press spacebar though, your territory will be clearly visible in contrast to that belonging to another faction. Some more tips for the campaign map is that there is a way to keep track of enemy armies without having to use heroes as scouts to search for them. If an enemy army is stationed in a settlement, they will provide that province with a public order bonus in the form of military presence. The public order bonus is determined by the number of units in that army divided by the number of settlements the province has. So if the enemy has a 20 stack army sitting in a province that has 2 settlements, it will provide a public order bonus of 10. So by multiplying the military presence bonus, you can get the number of units the enemy has. Aside from this, there is also another way to determine in which settlement the armies are stationed. When you zoom out of the campaign map, like so, you will see that if an army is sitting in a settlement, the settlement will have a flag over it, making it easier to keep track of enemy armies. Now, when playing the depraved faction that is the Seducers of Slaanesh, you should know that whenever you summon a disciple army, it will always have full movement. What you could do with this is, if you are too far to reach a certain point of interest, you can move an army capable of summoning a disciple army as close to that point as you can and summon one. Then you will have a fresh army capable of reaching the destination you otherwise wouldn't have been able to. A good battle tip is that if the AI has an artillery unit that has a crew manning it, you will want to try and decrew it, as the AI in this game never tries to recrew their artillery pieces, so this way you can always ensure it is a non-threat. A good way to do this is by summoning a unit on top of it, or landing with a flying unit to try and force them to abandon the artillery piece. Now, the newest addition to the game has been the respec button, which I really do like, as my favorite mod to use in Warhammer 2 was the one button respec mod. However, it came with some interesting interactions and probably unintended uses. First, if you respec a lord, it will be wounded for only 3 turns instead of the usual 5. So if you ever need an emergency lord to defend your territory, you can always keep one handy. Just make sure that after they have successfully defended your territory, you respec them so they are available much sooner to defend other regions. Another potentially unintended use for this respec button is the fact you can reset your Dark Elves' names of power trait. In my Dark Elf campaigns, I usually save scum the game into oblivion trying to get desirable traits, such as Shadow Dart and Barb Storm. But now I can put a point into the name of power, and if I get a trait I dislike, I can just respec it until I get one I do like. Lastly, if you have a lord you are afraid will defect due to low loyalty, you can simply respec it, and by doing so it will never defect. Now, for some things that aren't necessarily tips, tricks or exploits, but are rather fun and interesting to know. You might have noticed that in Warhammer 3, you can spread or remove corruption by fighting battles. What you might not have known is how this actually works. The size of the enemy army you fight determines how much corruption you will spread after the battle. The larger the army, the more corruption you will spread. Any corruption spreading skills don't seem to influence this one bit, at least in my experience. Having multiple reinforcing armies doesn't affect it either. And finally, the Changeling can't lose his campaign. What do I mean by this? Well, exactly that. As when I say the Changeling is an end-turn simulator, I really do mean it. If you lose all of your armies and get your cults destroyed, you will get no game over screen like you would have with any other faction. Instead, you can just keep pressing the end turn button indefinitely. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe for future content. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.
Khorne fights as one.